Thank you very much. A very good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Kalsbergs, my colleagues, former presidents, ministers, excellencies, dear friends. First of all, a very warm welcome to the Riga Castle. I think that we are all here in a very cozy atmosphere, both physically and also, I hope, mentally. Riga Castle is a symbol of Latvia. It's not only a residence of the president, it's also housing the National History Museum. But if we look at the history of this castle, then we see that there have been many rulers, from Livonian order to kings and queens to tsars and tsarinas. But actually, the castle was built after one very remarkable event, the victory of Livonian order over the Russian Tsar back at the end of 15th century, beginning of the 16th century. And that shows that geopolitics is actually very much the spirit of this place. I want to say that it's great to see so many good friends here gathered for the regular and annual Riga conference. I want to thank Lato for the organization of this event. I want to thank all the supporters. I want to thank all those volunteers that are helping us to make this event a success. And yes, indeed, as Yanis has said, if you look at all the conferences, all the introductory remarks, you always get a kind of message. We live in pivotal times, in critical times. The history is at the turning point. That's all right. But we also should understand that apart from talking about history, about our responsibility, we also need to agree on what we should do. Not only talk, but also do. And in coming weeks and months, we are going to see quite important events. In 3 weeks, the United States will have elections. The new president will be elected. Also, we'll see elections in the US Congress. And whenever I go abroad or whenever I host any journalists here in Riga, there is always the question what we think about US elections. I do believe that we all need to respect the will of the American people first. But what we also need to talk, it's not so much about the United States. What decisions will be taken in the United States do matter, and they will influence the whole of the world. But here in Europe, we actually should concentrate on what we should do. And here, I think that answers are very obvious. We need to strengthen our defense capabilities. We need to spend more on defense. We need to boost our defense industry. We need to make European Union, NATO as Europe's allies, more resilient. That's obvious. But there is also more pressing issue that I want also to outline today. As we have seen, Europe is not only at the challenging time when it comes to its security and defense, but also when it comes to its economic development. To some extent, we see that we are losing our competitiveness. We see that information technologies, drones, AI or artificial intelligence, those things that many countries in the world are advancing, those are underdeveloped in Europe. So we must also to address not only defense and security, but how we can make Europe much stronger, much more resilient, much more developed also when it comes to economy. Because at the end of the day, only strong Europe from defense and economic point of view is going to be a very strong and needed partner for the United States. It's going to be a very strong, resilient force to counter all revisionist powers, be it Russia or be it any other country in the globe. And at the end of the day, only strong Europe is going to be the place that citizens will really reckon with and will support. So I invite you to spend the time discussing how we can make our transatlantic relations stronger, how we can make Europe stronger, and to be more united when it comes to foreign policy. Second thing that I want to mention is Ukraine and where we are here. Indeed, what we all admire and we all are seeing, it's a Ukrainian nation that is resilient, strong, fighting against Russian aggression. But we also should acknowledge that we are not as good as our words are when it comes to support. Unfortunately, if you look at pledges and then actual deliveries, there is a gap. And yes, I do understand many bureaucratic reasons, many other reasons, but we should understand that Ukraine needs support, weapons, money, ammunition, everything, now, not after 5, 6, or 7 months. And yes, indeed, there is still a problem that we are not allowing Ukraine to use what it gets in order to defend itself against Russian aggression. We can't expect Ukraine to win if we are not providing support, all the tools that this country needs. And yes, we can talk and speculate a lot about what next when it comes to the political process is, but let's not forget, Russia is not going to sit at the table or to listen to us if Ukraine is not strong. Russia actually is currently rejecting any ideas even about possible political process. And let's face it, the peace, the resilient Ukraine is only possible if we provide Ukraine with all weapons and we lift all the limitations to use those weapons. Only then, strong and winning Ukraine is going to be the one that the world is going to reckon, and also the one that is going to be able to make necessary long-term peace. At the same time, we also should understand that the only way how we can make long-lasting peace in Europe and also in the world is when Ukraine becomes a full-fledged member of NATO and the European Union. Difficult to say when we are going to make that decision. There is still disagreement both at NATO as well as in the European Union, because as EU integration is going to proceed, we are going to see, of course, also a lot of challenges when it comes to opening and closing chapters, when it comes to reconciling all the different interests. But I think that at the end of the day, we all need to understand that we should learn from past mistakes. We should understand that when we support Ukraine, we are not escalating, but we are actually providing all the necessary means to de-escalate overall situation in Europe. And when we talk about long-lasting peace, then only that can be achieved with Ukraine fully integrated in European and Euro-Atlantic space. And the final point that I want to make before closing, indeed things are interlinked. And whenever we talk about Ukraine or transatlantic relations, let's not also forget about other parts in the world. Let's not forget that there are still conflicts in Africa, and when we are asking our friends and partners in Africa to support us when it comes to international law and order, then we should also discuss how we can support them. Let's not forget about the Middle East. I think that we are in the situation where whatever happens in the Middle East affects all of us. And here also there are no easy solutions. We all support Israel when it comes to its right of self-defense against terrorists. We all condemn all those Hamas and Hezbollah attacks against Israel. But we also are urging to act within the international humanitarian law. We all understand that, again, without any political process, the peace in the Middle East, the reconciling of all those differences is not possible. And here, of course, again, when we see that United Nations forces are attacked, when principles of the UN charters are being broken, then of course we expect each and every UN member to observe international law and UN charter. There is plenty to discuss, and I'm sure that the surroundings here, the premises here in the Riga Castle, will help you. I want to close where actually Yanis was kind of making a pledge or also a promise. This is a great neighborhood I have as the president. I have office just a couple of meters from here. So please behave. Whenever you have disagreements, don't shout. try to reconcile that in the civilized way as always here. And please be free to discuss all the issues. I'm very much looking forward for great brainstorming. And as always, we expect at the end of this Riga conference that all problems of the world are being solved till the next conference. Thank you very much.